and founder of EBUG, and it stands for East Bay United Gals. And for the last 17 years, we've been doing East Bay-centric events. And every year I survey the audience of our 300 members, and I ask them, what events would you guys like to do? Susan, we did a knitting event, we've done dance events, we've done movie nights, we've done
artist events,
star parties,
artists, and author.
Authors, yeah, Dale Marie Golden, she does that for us. So one of the events that was our #1 event was having a fireside chat with you. I don't know if you knew that. It took 2 years to get on your calendar. So we're honored that you were able to come to see us today. I wanted to give a special thank you to Giovanna, where is Giovanna? Giovanna's been a long-time supporter of EBUG, member, and I asked her the other day, how's business? And she said, excellent. I said, wow. I said, what's the secret? And she said, texting. So all you people out there texting and jumping in your cars, and then you have to come in here and get your car fixed, and this is the place to go. So before we meet the mayor, I wanted to also introduce our moderator. This is Esther Lilly. Esther is she's not a shy girl when it comes to politics. This is not her first rodeo. She worked with the Gores for Al Gore in the Senate and Chipper, I guess, in the White House. Campaign, okay. She worked for the Clintons. She was Hillary's scheduler, and this in itself is probably the most interesting fact. She did it without the internet. I didn't know it was possible. They had fax and call people on the phone, and it's crazy. So she went to 28 countries with Hillary, and now Esther works for UC Berkeley. She's director of government affairs, and she can tell you all kinds of interesting stories. Ask her about any culture, but do not ask her how to get your kid into Cal. It's impossible. So Esther's going to be our moderator tonight, and before I turn it over to her, I just wanted to encourage people to get snacks, food. The bathrooms are here to the left and over there. Afterwards, we're going to continue to mingle, and feel free to stay as long as you'd like. And with that, thank you again for coming tonight.
Back when there were 8 of us was to bring a covered dish and unresolved personal problem. That's right. Back in the day. But thank you, Kim, and thank you for creating community in this group, especially for many of us who moved here.
Thank you,
No,
Kim.
we're good.
So Libby Schaaf, she is homegrown, old school Oakland. That's what we love about her. Okay. She is a graduate of Carolina High, where she was a cheerleader. Go Titans. She went away briefly to Rollins College in Florida. She tried out in Southern California for a bit, where she got her JD at Loyola. But like most people who were born and raised here, she came back to Oakland. She came here to launch her legal career, but this woman has quite the Oaklandish resume. Let me tell you, she co-founded the nonprofit Oakland Cares. She created the first centralized volunteer program for the Oakland Public Schools. That's going to be the theme here tonight. We'll get back to that. She worked for the Oakland City Council as the chief of staff. She was an aide to Mayor Jerry Brown. She was public affairs director for the Port of Oakland. She served one term on the Oakland City Council, and she was sworn in as Oakland's 50th mayor on January 5th, 2015. And didn't I hear you always work at Dairyland? I want to know what that's on your resume, okay? She worked at Dairyland. The woman is true Oakland, okay? So, there's one other sort of EBUG type introduction that I want to tell you about. You know what's going on here, but I'm going to tell you. So, for those of you who know me on Facebook, you know I've been a little fixated on this little issue that OUSD has had with AC Transit. It's been kind of a running theme on my Facebook page. They were at a bit of a stalemate on an issue regarding buses to 3 Oakland public schools, one of which had 100% free to reduce lunch kids, okay? This was a big problem. And I may or may not have had a few posts about this. So while this was going on, I had a few posts, and I was encouraging people to come with me to a few of these AC Transit board meetings. And I heard from a woman I know in Nashville. Well, actually, she's not in Nashville anymore, but I knew her from where I was growing up in Nashville. She was the mother of a young man that I grew up with in Nashville. His name was Rod Snow. And Rod was one of my best friends in high school. We grew up together, knew him since I was about, I don't know, from elementary school. He lived down the street from me. He was a little bit younger. And Rod died when he was in his early 20s, but his mother and I have stayed in touch. And she saw this post that I had written about AC Transit. And she said, and I quote, Esther, I just saw your post about AC Transit, and I just thought you'd like to know that I have a picture of your mayor, Libby Schaaf, and my Roddy for when she was 3, and and Rod was in a stroller, and I know her mother, Barbara Schaaf, from when I lived there many years ago. And I'm sorry about that mess in Oakland, but maybe Libby could help with this. Maybe Libby could help. Well, I'm happy to say that my partner in crime, Naomi Levy, who couldn't be here tonight, enlisted the help of the mayor, who pretty much broke her peace in the Middle East on this one. She went and got us a 1-year deal, and we've got some work to do to figure out the plan going forward. But Oakland kids have transportation next year because of one person. Thank you, Susie Smith.
My mom, I can't wait to tell my mom.
So the way this is going to work is I'm going to do some questions. She's going to give us the answers. And then we're going to invite you guys to ask some questions too. All right? I get to start because I'm on breath. So, Libby, I'd like for you to tell us what it was like growing up in Oakland. And tell us, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in your hometown? And what are your biggest hopes for?
Is this good? Do you like me standing up?
Yes.
I know it's a little less fireside chatty, but these
But you're right by the front. Close it down.
I'll like hold this. First of all, why did it take 2 years to get here? It's so nice to be with all of you. And I just look out and I see a lot of friends, a lot of people that have known me a long time. Turns out people who know my mother's friends. I mean, anyway, I was just about to take off my shoes. I really felt that. Growing up in Oakland, and I grew up in the Montclair Hills. Let's just be honest. I grew up in Shangri-La, where we had a neighborhood hide-and-go-seek game every night. I went to Lockheed Miller Elementary School, yay, which as Cheryl knows, because our sons went there together. I've carried on that family tradition. But I will say, I was very active in Girl Scouts, and my mom was a big community volunteer. In fact, I think she knew Susie Snow, through the Clipped Wings, which was a service group for retired airline stewardesses. But because I was active in Girl Scouts, I applied to be part of this national encampment called Wider Opportunities. And I went for my first time by myself. I think it was in Philadelphia or someplace, somewhere far away from Oakland. And one of the kids said to me, "Oh, you're from Oakland? Aren't you afraid to live there?"
I love it when they say that.
And I had no idea what she was talking about. And from my perspective, and again, I was a little sheltered in my early years, but don't worry, I got right over that. The only thing that I could think about that was unpleasant about where I lived was that my mom got mad that the deer ate her flowers sometimes in her yard. But it was my first kind of exposure to this, what I still feel is a very unfair image of Oakland. That people don't see the beauty, that they don't see what this city stands for. And I have to say that growing up in Oakland, I grew up in love with my city. And I'm really thankful to my mother, who was such just a big volunteer, community volunteer, and who made a point to make sure that we understood that we were part of a community that was much, much, much bigger and far more interesting in many ways than Montclair. And I'm thankful to the Girl Scouts that taught me about leadership and service. But the big secret is that it is such a pleasure to give. It is such a pleasure to connect with people in your community and feel yourself as a member of this big, awesome, interesting family that is the entire city of Oakland. And so a lot of people have causes that they're passionate about. They're environmentalists, they're feminists, they're artists. I've just always believed that Oakland is my cause. Because Oakland stands for something. We're not just a physical place. We stand for values. And it really is by growing up here that I have come to feel that my city stands for inclusive diversity. It's what we're about. They do polls every year. These professional pollsters poll residents in different cities, and they ask an open-ended question: what do you love best about living in city X? And Oakland is the only city where, unprompted, the far and away most common answer is diversity. It literally is a value that is in our soil. This is also a place that is full of artists and creative energy. I mean, for God's sakes, we're in an auto body shop right now. And I have had my car fixed here, have I not? But I was not texting. Somebody hit me. But we are a city of artists. We cherish art, and our art has a little edge to it sometimes. It's unique, it is vibrant, it is full of an energy that helps define this place. Our city is a working class city. It's a city that we're not afraid to make things with our hands, to get our hands dirty. These kind of working class roots give us a gritty authenticity that is particularly refreshing as we look across the bay and see what has become of San Francisco. And then, we are a city of progressive values. We are the starter of movements. We are radicals. We even like to protest sometimes. And boy, when you become the mayor, you get a new feeling about that. But growing up was just an experience of falling in love with Oakland and recognizing that Oakland is not just a place, it's a cause. I took a long time to answer that question.
Yeah.
Is there a second part of the question that I didn't
Your
answer?
biggest hope for it.
My biggest hope? Oh, that's very clear. My hope for Oakland is that we are a thriving, equitable city. That we we are a city that revitalizes, that grows, but does it in a way that lifts up rather than pushes out our most vulnerable residents. And that lifts up and does not push out all that stuff that I told you that makes Oakland so unique, that ethos. I want a city where everyone has a basic level of security in their health, in their income, in their housing. But I also want to be a city where we don't have unfair disparities. Equity is something that, again, I think is part of the Oakland DNA. And it's not enough that everyone is doing well at a certain bottom level. Everyone should be able to thrive in ways that show that we are breaking down barriers to oppression. And that's my dream for Oakland. And I think if anyone can do it, we can.
Okay, that's cool. My part's short, but you can see it. Okay, did you always know that you wanted a career in public service? And what's the best part of your job? Where's the part of your job?
I did not always know that I wanted a job in public service. I think there was one point when I was really little that I wanted to be the first woman president just because nobody else had been. And I was so devastated that I'm now almost 52 years old and still a woman has not been president. I don't need to tell you. A woman or a misogynist. At one point I wanted to be, I love traveling, I love other cultures and other types of people and learning about different people. So I thought for one moment I wanted to be the CEO of a multinational corporation so I could just travel all the time. That was when I was quite young. Didn't really realize what that was about. I was a poli-sci major mostly because it seemed like these were the classes that I could get the best grades in for the least amount of work. Anybody else pick their major in that way? It's all messed up. And I ended up, I did want to work in the arts. I ended up going to law school, actually because I thought I could work in the arts and entertainment industry, like the movie industry, the record industry. I went to Loyola Law School because they had a great entertainment law practice. But it turned out I actually did really well in law school, and I had a lot of student loans when I graduated. So I became a corporate lawyer. But that was really intensely boring. And while I was practicing law, my mom and I started that Oakland Cares, and we were organizing all these volunteer opportunities. You know, and I always tell this story about, I ran the Wednesday night homework help night at the Boys and Girls Club in West Oakland, Meltzer. And it was one of those nights, I was a litigator. Anybody here a recovering lawyer? Or a non-recovering lawyer? I've been sober for 25 years now. But it really dawned on me the night I walked into the Boys and Girls Club. It was one of those nights where I was going to do my volunteering, and then I was going to go back to the law firm to bill some more hours. You're nodding, I guess you know what that's like. And I walked in, and this little boy Nathan, who I just totally connected with, particularly helping him with his math homework. And he saw me come in, and he just sprinted across the whole gym in front of all his cool little 9-year-old friends, and he just threw his arms around me. And I thought, God, partners at Crosby Healy do not do this when I walk in the morning. My day job is getting in the way of what I truly love to do, and that is volunteer. And that was the big kind of crossroads in my life, was walking away from a big corporate law firm and taking a job at half the salary to build a volunteer program, a centralized volunteer program for the Oakland Public Schools, which is one of the best things you could ever support. And we will get back to that. Best part and worst part of the job. I cannot tell you that there is possibly another job with the highs and the lows of this job. I mean, highs, sending 50 kids who are the
first in their families all the way through college. East Bay College Fund, which is the primary partner of the Oakland Promise, which is my dream. But just to use the fact that you're the mayor to throw a birthday party and actually raise $1 million to send 50 kids, and then I cannot lie, but dancing on top of my flame-throwing metal snail car with MC Hammer at the Warriors Parade. Hello? It's like with 1 million people in your city just all going, that was pretty amazing. Even if I did break my hand the day before, which is why MC Hammer was with me. That's a long story. So those highs are just unbelievable that you can do things like I would say May 31st, this a week from today, Wednesday, you're all invited. We are sending 400 kids off to college this year. At the Scottish Rite Temple at, I think it's 5:30. Go to the oaklandpromise.org website, you'll see an invitation. So those are the absolute highs, absolute lows. Some of my lows you have all seen on your TV sets. And that's one of the things that's hard about being mayor. You literally have some of your worst things in the world happen to you, and you have to walk out and represent your city and speak with both compassion but also competence and clarity so that everyone can move through. And I'm sure you all are thinking of a time that you saw me have to do that, the Ghost Ship Warehouse Fire last December. But what you didn't see was hours and hours. 5 straight days with no sleep, working with our first responders, having one of my fire captains walk off the line just covered in grit and say to me, every body that I pulled out of that building last night had the face of my daughter. Or the families that had flown in and were just waiting to find out. They knew, but waiting for the bad news that it was their child that had been identified. So 5 straight days of that. So it's both what you see on the camera, but it's what you see off the camera. Or the stories that don't even make the news. And I would say we've all grappled a lot. You might have heard about the San Pablo Avenue fire. And the Ghost Ship fire got so much attention. And so much money was raised for relief. The San Pablo Avenue fire was much more complicated. And it really touched on issues of race and class. And how support systems in our cities work. Or the homicides that you never even read about in the newspaper. I'll never forget sitting with a family at the chapel inside Haddon Hospital, and their son was on life support. They were about to make the decision to take him off. And again, he had some gang involvement. It's the kind of story that did not make the newspaper. It's the kind of story that people did not have a fundraising campaign to help his family bury his child. But their grief was just as real. And I felt just as responsible because I came to be the mayor of Oakland so that families don't have to bury their child. And so that little girls that go off to Girl Scout camp don't get asked, are you afraid to live in Oakland? Because a lot of children would answer yes. So those are both the highs and the lows. Incredible, incredible roller coaster. But through all that, it is a privilege. It is a privilege to hold both I do appreciate that and recognize that it is a privilege and an honor, even in the hardest moments. I think our feedback has stopped, so I'm gonna try sitting here. And I want to say as an overheard, thank you for your service. It's not an easy job, and we thank you for doing it. So you've been very fair, and thank you. No more questions, and then I'm gonna let the rest of you who aren't Oprah ask. So a bunch of us from EBUG went on a walk through Old Oakland last weekend. We had a great tour. I can't remember who sponsored our tour. Someone remember the name of the organization?
Oakland walking tours.
Oakland Walking Tours. It was great. We toured, and we were talking about development without displacement. And we were learning how in Oakland, new apartment buildings have gone up on vacant lots or parking lots in place of buildings or places where buildings were previously zoned for commercial use. And we all agree that's an ideal use rather than displacing people rather than as they've done in San Francisco. So can you tell us a little bit more about how the city has sort of planned housing and what we're doing in terms of trying to keep Oakland affordable for everyone? What's your plan for helping middle and low income families and individuals stay in Oakland?
It's one of my favorite subjects, but it's also one of my biggest challenges. And just to set some context, where you're going from emotional to like policy wonk. So no, it's good, it's good. The emotional is whew. Started in the first 10 years of this millennium, the Bay Area as a region added 500,000 new jobs, but built only 54,000 units of housing. And I'm talking about the Bay Area because it's really important you recognize that the problem you are talking about does not exist in a vacuum within our municipal boundaries. 2/3 of the residents of Oakland work in a city outside of Oakland. And 2/3 of the workers in Oakland commute into Oakland because they live in other cities. Literally, these populations crossing each other every day on the freeway. And so, I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that this is a problem that has been in the making for the last 17 years. And it also has been in the making through forces outside of Oakland. When Apple, these huge campuses in Cupertino and Mountain View, Facebook and Apple and Google, and a lot of those workers live here, right? They don't live, in fact, a lot of those cities that have been very excited to build corporate campuses are not at all excited about building housing, particularly not affordable housing or housing for low income or even working class. And not everybody is a millionaire at Google. There are cafeteria workers, there are custodians, there are security workers. Those people are on the freeways next to you and me. So again, I want to be sure people recognize the complexity that just as the problem did not start and end in Oakland, the solution will not start and end in Oakland. So what are we doing about it? When I became the mayor, one thing Oakland has is a lot of very smart, compassionate people. We pulled together a huge housing cabinet. We actually had 110 people participate in constructing a plan for how we will deal with this as quickly and with the most impact. We believe over the next 8 years, we can build 17,000 new units of housing in Oakland, with 28% of that being restricted or protected affordable for low and very low income residents. But we also want to protect 17,000 families who live here right now from being displaced. I won't bore you with all 41 different actions that we're taking to meet those goals. And again, those numbers are over an 8-year period. But just a few things that I would like to say, or highlight out of the many things that we're doing to accomplish those, which numerically, based on our calculations, could potentially relieve the pressure that Oakland is feeling. Because you know, we are now the 4th most expensive city in America to rent a one-bedroom apartment in.
Amen. Yeah. We've got kids.
Number 1 is San Francisco, like by a long shot. 2 is New York, 3 is Boston, 4 is little old Oakland. And number 5 is San Jose. So 3 out of 5 of the most expensive cities in America are in the Bay Area. So again, Houston, we have a problem. So how do we relieve that pressure? We do have to build, and I know some people have feelings about building luxury buildings, building higher rent buildings. We need to build it all, because I am no Donald Trump. I'm not building a wall around Oakland. And I also really want to resist this urge to vilify the newcomer, to vilify the outsider. Right? Doesn't that sound familiar? Don't make Oakland be that. So we have to build new places, because wealthy people are moving to Oakland. And if we don't build new housing for them to move into, they will push out the people who are already here. And a lot of that has already happened, particularly if you look at West Oakland and those cute Victorians. That has already happened. So that's why I want to build, and I want to build at all levels. And I'm very appreciative to all of you voters who last November passed 2 different measures that together, just for Oakland, are going to create more than $200 million for new affordable housing construction. And we've committed that at least 20% of that will go to house the homeless. I don't need to tell you what a huge exploding problem that is, that I think challenges our compassion on many different levels. And then for protecting Oaklanders to stay in place, we also did set up a fund, and this is my priority, that we are purchasing buildings that already exist, where people are already living, and then we are de-restricting them to make them permanently restricted affordable housing for low-income families. So we are actually bringing legal protections to people where they're living right now, in addition to building new affordable housing. We're also doing things like making it easier for you all to add secondary units to your homes. If you live near transit, you yourself can help alleviate the housing crisis by adding a secondary unit and becoming a little landlord. Please think about it. And then we also really upped a lot of the legal protections for tenants. We expanded the coverage of just cause eviction, and we made it a lot harder for landlords to raise their rents above what is justified. So the idea of also making sure tenants know what their rights are and know where to get help. Because the way that rent control works in Oakland, if you live someplace for a long time, you could be paying half the rent as a new person who just moved in next door to you pays. And that creates a lot of incentive for the few unscrupulous landlords that we have out there, or who don't know what the law is, to try and get rid of the low-paying tenants. And that's often complicated. Tenants are from another country where you don't call the government to complain, because that can have bad consequences. There are a lot of challenges we have to make sure everybody really knows their rights. So it's a very complex issue, but those are some of the many things that we're doing. Because like all these problems, there's not one silver bullet. They're like 40. So those are some of the things we're doing.
And you touched on it a little bit, but could you just go a little deeper on the issue of homelessness? It's kind of hard to miss when you get off the freeway. And everywhere. Can you talk a little bit about what the city is doing to support those that are living in sort of the tent cities that we're seeing everywhere, and what the challenges the city faces, and how we plan, and what we as individuals can do to help support those that are living in these conditions?
Nobody has figured out how to solve homelessness. And I look across the Bay at San Francisco, they have a budget of like $200 million a year. Plus, charity just donated $100 million to them, and their problem is actually worse than ours. what we are doing, and I will give you a sneak peek, our new homeless count is coming out actually tomorrow. So don't tell anybody, don't tweet it, turn off your phone for a second.